Continuing with our trend of cinematic inaccuracies, we're now on to Jurassic World. I quite like this movie. It was a nice comeback for the franchise, not gonna lie. I know some people are like, but it's not as good as the old ones. Yeah, that's because the Jurassic Park is still like the best movie ever. I mean, it was good. It was good. I liked it. I did, not gonna lie. And naturally, there were a handful of new species to go over. Though I'll be real with you, there are only, well, in terms of the actual paleontological record, 3 new species in this movie. Just 3. So, this won't be a very long list as a direct result of that particular issue. There would be 4, except for, I think, fairly obvious reasons I am not going to go over the Indominus. And in case you are wondering why that is, well, what am I going to compare it to? It's not a real animal. This was made up. This is literally, in canon, a genetically modified hybrid. There's no paleontological basis for it because, well, it's not a real animal. It was literally made. So, yeah, can't really go over that. Also, this list especially really spits in the face of the title because 2 of the 3 new creatures are not dinosaurs at all. One is a flying and one is an aquatic reptile. So that's neat. Let's just carry it and mosey onward. Mosasaurus onward. Ranking Jurassic World dinosaurs from least to most accurate. Dimorphodon. Yep, this is one of the not dinosaurs, as you probably imagine. This is a flying reptile. But if I didn't talk about it, just like with the Pteranodon, I'd get yelled at. It's still a prehistoric animal in the film. Plus, with only 3 new species in general, I mean, this would be a list of 1 if I didn't talk about the non-dinosaurs as well. Dimorphodon was a nice addition. Nice to see a different flying reptile that isn't Pteranodon. Pteranodon does appear in this movie as well, though. And they're not particularly accurate. I admit I was really on the fence as to which one to put at the bottom of the list when compared to the other not dinosaur, which is coming straight after this one. I decided to put this one at the bottom because, with the exception of one major factor involving the other one, this one technically has more inaccuracies overall if you actually count them. Now, to be fair, they aren't as obvious with Dimorphodon, but they are more numerous. For one thing, they are a bit too big. The wingspan of these creatures are about 1 meter longer than Dimorphodon would have had, and it's also believed that the original animal couldn't fly for very long, whereas these can fly seemingly just fine. Their skulls also aren't the right shape. They're very angular, and the original Dimorphodon would have had more rounded skulls. So, really, there's a lot wrong with them. But I will give them this. On the neck and back, they actually have pycnofibers, which is something that is very rare to see in the Jurassic Park franchise, but all pterosaurs would have had those. So that was a nice addition to the animals. Oh, yeah, and the feet. Yeah, we should probably talk about the feet again. They're not angled right, and once again, these animals seem to be able to grab objects just like Pteranodon in this universe, and no, just no! They couldn't do that. That wasn't something they did. They're not birds of prey. So yeah, not very accurate, all things considered, but it's nice to see the pycnofibers. And it was also nice to see an attempt at a new flying reptile that isn't named Pteranodon, so, whatever. Mosasaurus. Ah, yes, the other not dinosaur on this list is also very inaccurate, but only because of one key major problem. So in terms of the exact species, well, it's actually said to be Mosasaurus maximus, but that's believed to be synonymous with Mosasaurus hoffmanni, so yeah. I think they might have gone with maximus because it sounds cooler, you know, one of those deals. And speaking of Maximus, the major issue with the Mosasaur in the Jurassic World franchise is the size. This creature is way too big. Just so big. Just insanely big. Other minor issues involve a lack of a forked tongue, which they probably would have had, as well as the lack of a large tail fluke, but those are minor compared to the overwhelming size issue. This problem has actually become a bit of a running joke among the Jurassic Park fan base, because even in the films, they cannot seem to decide how big this animal is. The actual Mosasaurus hoffmanni probably maxed out about 13 meters, but according to the Jurassic World official website, this animal is about 16 meters. But the promotional and marketing size, which included the Dinosaur Protection Group pictures, have her at 25.9 meters long. But if you actually measure for scale in the film, she's 36.6 meters long, and if we go into Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, she's somewhere between 65 and 75 meters long. So, I have no idea how big this animal is, and I don't think anyone else does either. She is definitely too big, but in terms of how too big, you got me. You got everyone. No one seems to be sure on this. Outside of that, she's not a bad rendition in terms of overall shape. There's a few things wrong, but nothing super major. It's that size problem. Some might argue that she's even more egregious than Dimorphodon. I still think overall, Dimorphodon has more technically wrong with them. It's just that the major issue with Mosasaur is so obvious and so egregious and so just... what? Why? Who? Goodness. At her current rate of size increase between films and marketing material, she's about to be on par with Godzilla, you know? Like, that's what we're dealing with here. Though I can forgive it on this basis. As I think we've established repeatedly, and most people seem to really understand this, Jurassic Park, as an overall franchise, is science fiction. Of course, things aren't going to be 100% accurate, because it is just that, fiction. Yeah, it's based on some fact, utilizing real species of animals, and sometimes they get pretty close to the actual creature, but there are certain liberties to be taken. And obviously, they just wanted a really giant sea beast here. I get it. I do. And it's not as bad as Walking with Dinosaur, the Liopleurodon. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that for a second? I consider that way worse than the Mosasaur. I mean, yeah, it was the same problem, but the difference here is that Walking with Dinosaurs was supposed to be a documentary, which is meant to present things as fact, and yet they scaled up Liopleurodon to an insane degree for reasons that I can only assume involve being really impressive or possibly being magical. Magical Liopleurodon. That's the only way to make that make sense! Why? At least Jurassic World has the benefit of being for entertainment. Walking with Dinosaurs, you were supposed to tell us the truth! You lied to us! Apatosaurus. These were really nice to see in Jurassic World, since, honestly, they, technically have been there since the start of the entire franchise. In the original novel, Jurassic Park, Apatosaurus was on the island. They replaced it with Brachiosaurs for the movie because, well, Brachiosaurs were bigger and more impressive and it looked cooler. So, you know, and I get that, but it was nice to see Apatosaurs finally enter the official movie canon in Jurassic World. And in terms of accuracy, they're not too far off. They are a bit too big, being 6 meters tall. That's about 20 feet, nearly 90 feet long. It only puts them a handful of feet above the original, so I don't consider that an egregious problem, and besides that, there really isn't a heck of a lot to nitpick about them. They look like Apatosaurs, for the most part, although they do chew their food, which probably not something they did actually in real life, believe it or not. It's believed they would have swallowed their food whole, and then swallowed stones to break them up in their stomachs. Rather than actually chew with their teeth like we do, they would use their teeth to bite off food, but not actually chew it. But again, that's a minor problem. In terms of their behavior, yeah, they probably did move in herds, and they were fairly docile animals, as sauropods usually are portrayed as being. Definitely nice to see these creatures, and like I said, they handled them fairly well, all things considered. And with that, a special thank yous to all my apex predators, Arthur Roy, Metal for Life Guy, and Dr. Racer78. Till next time, this is Darkness, and a bid you all a fun farewell.